And welcome back as technical issues hit with me. Of course, it always has to be that case. Aw. Welcome to Turtles. He says, yo, holding little man, so won't be chatting as much, but your soothing Aussie tones will put him to sleep. I hope your kid is just chilling and relaxed. That is all every parent should have. Now, for some reason, just as I've gone live, my Xbox has decided like, there's the controller. It's working. It's plugged in. But for some reason, it's deciding that it doesn't actually want to do anything. So I switched it on with the controller, but the controller isn't connecting. And I have no earthly clue what is going on. it is always this case that something goes wrong. If it does go wrong, it's right as you hit the live button. So, fun. All right. So I don't know how I'm going to resolve this issue. And it's really a case of what can you do? Because here's the surprising thing. Like, if I bring it up, like, controller's there. Like, you can hear buttons are being pressed, but nothing's actively happening, and it doesn't seem to be a setting option or anything like that. So I'm honestly fucking befuddled. Absolutely befuddled. And the amusing thing is, the moment that I'm befuddled, the pup's here. That, like, if anything ever goes wrong, there's going to be a pup there to just be like, it's okay, it's chill. All is chill. which is always at least something to it. So I'm going to pull off the headphones and quickly disappear from mic while I try to reset this. And the dog doesn't move to help me, ever. All right. So we're trying now with it plugged in. And it switches on, and the console switches on, and it's there. But still nothing. This is just my luck. Absolutely my luck. I think the only way is to like hard reset the console, like pull the power out for 10 seconds or something. All right. I bet Rand and Jez don't have to deal with this bullshit. All right, let's see how this works. And it's hard reset. Console's still not working. Nope. Oh, there we go. It works, apparently. Let's see. Is it actually going to do that? The fancy proper, like, full boot up. Let's see. Nope. Oh, it does actually work. Excellent. So I'm going to switch to this while I type in my access code. Because I work in security, it'd be a bit useless for me to start typing in passcodes or elements or anything while it's up on stream. So, you know, that I'm at least responsible in that manner. So jumping back into State of Decay, it's there's a yep, relaunch. Okay. Recently there was a video posted by Brian Menard, I believe it is. He's one of the members of the Undead Labs player council who are doing assistance and help with kind of helping guide State of Decay 3's development. And I just keep returning to watching this 75-minute video of him just playing the game. It just has enough of that element where just watching it, I'm like, oh, that looks really fucking good. And it just keeps. Oh yes, we've got the Dread Zone group. That's who we're still working with. Unfortunately, we've lost 2 survivors. There were 2 survivors as part of the current group. I think we got 6 people so far. So you can see that there's 2 gravestones back there. They are the people who croaked it. Unfortunately, they did not survive. We will see how we feel about them in the future. But we've actually finally gotten one of the people to a positive standing. So at this point, once they kind of get to that rate, you can then put them in the position of being a like actually one of the leaders. So this one is the sheriff. This dude, trader. This is actually a guy that I hired. So in the call-in system, you can potentially bring in people from the other elements of the game, like the military people or anything else, and get them in. Oh, so Tamara here is actually a Red Talon soldier, and it means that they have all of these additional elements about them. Their skills are a lot higher natively, but then they've got things like logistics, which means that they can then craft and create things because they have a knowledge of particular skills. So they have, cool little bonuses and things. But to my knowledge, to get them up to a hero level, it takes so much longer because they don't get standing rewards, or they get less standing rewards. So it ends up being kind of a balance of, yes, they're powerful, but you can't use them to kind of buff everybody around. So I've at least gotten to a group of people who either have good 5th skills or are missing a 5th skill that we might be able to kind of give them specific ones that we need later. So we're just going to keep on with this happy little group. Okay, she's not too bad. Recent death in the community. Morale's reasonably good. Gardening. In terms of the base, we've got water. So for the outposts, I was able to find a place that uses 1 fuel per day, but then allows you to have water access to each element of your base. So for the garden here, we've now got water, so we're producing more food per day. And yeah, we can we can then kind of like change things up, upgrade them. So upgrade for farm 2 means that if we've got water, we're now at +3 food per day, which we've got the knowledge of gardening and the water and the box of seeds, and we've got the materials to do it. However, we're going to upgrade our command center because it takes a little bit longer, takes the same amount of materials, but it then allows us to add more outposts. If we add more outposts, then we can get more secondary beneficial benefits. So that's what we're going to go for. And we're currently sitting at, we need 1 more bed that's being produced over here. So we're upgrading the beds to have 3 beds there, 3 beds there, 2 beds there. So 3, 6, 7, 8. And I think it's because someone here is a prick. And yeah, this person, Quartermaster, uses 2 beds for them. So that would bring us to 7 beds. And I think, yeah, I think it's kind of like that case that you need additional beds to stop causing like back and forth issues between particulars. While we're also out and about there is a plague nest that I started taking out, but unfortunately didn't have enough materials to kind of like push through and actually destroy it all in one. Oh.
Sorry, folks. Just a little radio malfunction there. Please, go about your business.
Okay. You got to get morale up. Yeah, yeah, of course. We'll get fucking right on that. Jesus. So in terms of everything that's been happening in the world, obviously, like the really sucky thing, the Bungie layoffs hit, and a lot of people are going, oh, 292 people being let go. Not great. It never is. Like I don't think in any point anyone should be happy about anybody losing a job or anything else. It sucks across the board, no matter who you are, where you are, what you are. You don't want to hear it. You don't want to see it, but it's the shitty thing that happens all the fucking time. So, you do what you can and just like kick along, to a degree, keep calm and carry on. To a degree, yes, but it is honestly just the way things are. You can't help the best thing you could hope for. Generally, in the past, like when layoffs occurred, you would have other companies being able to kind of like step in and go, well, yes, you're letting go of these people, but they have brilliant experience around these specific elements. We could use this, like this works in our favor. Unfortunately, publishers and everyone else are just not at a position where anybody's really building up teams or groups to be able to do that. And it sucks because like even in previous times when I've seen studios close or have issues come up or, completely fall apart, like there's been a few studios that I know that have been in the, well, that have that have had friends of mine work there and they've closed down, you'd always have people kind of close out at one studio, so another studio will hire up and build into their own capacity. They really want me to have a look at the curveballs. Okay. So I am going to specifically the curveballs here. Hold on. So we are not going to have curveballs. Curveballs are strange extra effects that can be done in the game. I don't want to do that because it then throws a massive curveball, honestly. It throws a completely different effect for some zombies, some bits and pieces. And yeah, just even for the moment, like playing on Dread, it's not like I've lost 2 survivors. And at that point, you're kind of like, oh, Jesus, like, okay, it's a bit much. So, in past elements where I've seen, or I've actually been friends with people where the studio's gone, okay, we don't have a new project, or we're having to downsize. That's the kind of shitty thing that's happening. You know, we're sorry, everything else. Obviously, in Australia, like, if studios closed down because they collapsed or fell apart, there were particular elements that occurred. We've got some protections to a degree for staffing, making sure that people get paid, owings. Okay. Oh, hey, that died really fucking quickly. That's great. Oh, shit. Okay, there were a few more people than I expected. Oh, oh, shit. That's a feral. These are very, very bad. Zombies exploding with gunk. Oh, no. Wait. You plague zombies should be dead.
I should reload.
Okay.
Does that count, kiddos?
We are potentially in a great deal of trouble here. Let's just try this with single shots. Let's just wait for heads. Pop. So all we're doing now is picking off heads. This is probably just going to bring more zombies to me. But you know what? I'm okay with that. We do need plague samples. Oh, yep, and here they come. Oh, 5 more bullets. What's the kind of zombie movie rule? Like, save the last one for yourself. All right. So, yeah, with some of those closures and people that I know, it's just been a unfortunate situation where it all kind of falls apart, and
That's what I like.
and it's never an easy thing, because a lot of other times where, yeah, studios have closed down, had problems, this, that, the other, it's generally been oh, okay, well, this studio, we've got a project, so we're going to we can hire up these people and, you know, utilize them for our game. Like, we could spin this up, we could, you know, improve our efficiency on this project, we can hit our deliverables quicker, so on and so forth. Unfortunately, right now, I don't see that happening for a lot of the gaming industry, not because the studios don't want to. Like, many of them would probably be quite happy hiring in a bunch of people because they've got, you know, they're working on an established item. They've done pre-production, they're into full production. It's art assets and it's actual people time to create the thing itself. And that's not something that can really be improved really like for right now, rather than throwing bodies at it. Like, you need warm bodies to actually just make the damn thing. Obviously, like, you know, in time, AI tools, bits and pieces, that will definitely improve those aspects. But until such point that there's good, solid, reliable results out of those things, it's not going to be really worth it. It will just it'll just be that kind of like churn and turn that occurs, and that kind of sucks. But it does mean that hopefully some projects out there, obviously with Bungie themselves, the 292 staff that were let go under the WARN listing, they are staff who work in, around, or as part of the Washington State studio. Now, we know that there's specifically in Washington State, obviously around Bellevue, there is Undead Labs. There is, I believe there's another studio. I believe Turn 10 have their studio there as well. I could be wrong on that. I cannot remember whether it was Turn 10 or someone else, but someone did actually have a studio location nearby. We're just going to use that. And we'll take that and we'll put this in here. Hooray! So we're going to be coming back here because we haven't cleared everything out. Oh my god. Wait, I just took out a plague heart. These places should be... Oh. Huh. We got a few... Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Oh, that's a that's a horde. I'm gonna go. So obviously there are some studios out there now. Right now, obviously, whenever one company or group is firing, it generally means everybody is going to be firing to a degree or laying off. But sometimes it can be beneficial to some studios who just, they need the bodies. Warm bodies thrown at a project then means that you're able to kind of like pivot and bring people in. And as long as you're able to clearly articulate or show or have a good design or communication ethos that allows you to explain to people exactly what you need and how you need it done, you can then quickly get these people on board and have them pivot very quickly into being an asset, being productive for your studio. I would hope and imagine that that's kind of the case, that, you know, regardless of, you know, oh, cool, you only bought back like 3 things. I bought back like 2 full lots of everything, like food and everything else. Actually, we're going to need to look at that food. Okay, what is it that you want? This person wants... They want something. I'm not willing to give it to them. Like trying to pivot together and get to get food or to get your benefit from that, it involves investing. And right now, I think across the board, nobody's really willing to invest, and that to a degree, like for investing into people, that's always the biggest sunk cost for any business. Staff. It is always a case of staff. Staff are in a sense, the most important aspect, because they're the driver towards what you're doing, whether it's creative, whether it's manufacturing, production, anything else. People are the key, but they're also your biggest cost, because it is always a basis of you have to kind of build and be capable of helping people understand that every minute of every day of everything involves like money. Like it, I think Jason Schreier talked about it, the idea of way back in the day, per person in a studio it was $10,000 per person per studio per person per month, because there's like X amount of $1,000 of their pay, then there's health insurance, then there's 401k, then there's the costs in a sense of the hiring the equipment for them to be able to work, there's the software licenses, like all of these things kind of enumerated down to a per month basis. But right, it's almost a strange thing in that right now it would be a massive advantage for somebody to go, oh, wouldn't it be great that we've got this game, we've got this thing that we can work on that actually needs like we need people to throw at it to do these things and to kind of like help stuff along. It would be great to pull some of those Bungie people in and just go, hey, you know, here's a game we're working on, help us with this, spin people up, and then hopefully be able to then at a time have just an easy way for things to be kicked along at a better rate, rather than, you know, contracting out to studios or anything else. It is one of the scary aspects of any element of running a business when people are involved. You will honestly try and do your best, but sometimes your best is not is not always the easiest thing. So like my honest hope is that everybody at Bungie gets snapped up by a great studio, great position. From OMG Turtles, do you think we're heading to an industry downsize? I can see games becoming mired simplistic in the coming decade to deal with the costs. I think, honestly, the industry's grown so consistently over time I think, yeah. Honestly, like breaking down into the simplest possible terms, yeah. I think there is going to be an industry downsize. The rough part is that I don't see the issues in the way that a lot of kind of like general Twitter or communication is currently talking about problems with, oh, well, you know, these people aren't doing the right thing, or this group or this element are not
When I was a boy, mainland America seemed like a
hold on.
I'd launch toy boats at the shore, hoping they'd reach a land I never could.
We'll get this person
When I
down.
was part of the army, I fought for that dream.
Will this person just get down the ladder?
But my purpose hasn't changed.
Somebody's gotta dig the reins around here.
Oh, shut the fuck up, Jordan. You're really pissing me off. I think if the current discussion point is true, that say it in a sense, the discussion about Asher Sharma saying that okay, we're going to push towards a very specific ideal for our games. We're going to build the studios who make the big titles, the big solid games. That's what's going to keep us going, and they're going to leave the smaller projects and everything to the indies. That's actually a return to, when you think about it, that's what used to be the case back in the Xbox 360 era. Bungie weren't working on small games, they were working on Halo. Naughty Dog were not working in the PS3 era. They weren't doing Crash Bandicoot or platformers or anything. They were working on Uncharted. Sucker Punch, when they were brought in, they were working on Infamous. All of these studios and elements, these big titles, that always tended to be that's the realm of the big AAA studios. And while I generally do not like saying it, because it can be taken in that sense of, oh yeah, like they shouldn't be doing this, they should be doing X, Y, Z, these smaller things, bigger things, better things. I tend to think if you want to make a game, you're wanting to make a game, and you're working towards an idea, whether big, small, good, bad, this, that. It's
This one's the last one. Okay, no more of those.
all right. Sorry, we're gonna get the attention of this horde. There we go. These boys. There we go. Oh shit, there's still more of them. Okay. I think the potential best way is that the way forward for the industry, I think, has to be about trying to keep to what they do best, which should be big titles, big elements, big, your big games. Let the indies do their work.
Give it space.
But I think that's ultimately going to come with the inherent downsizing that will occur in the industry, because people will not, there is not enough money in any part of the industry anywhere for there to be as many game development studios and game creators as there is. Like, your market is your market. The amount of people out there who can spend money are the amount of people who can spend money. It is ultimately a fallacy to argue a point where, oh, subscriptions have devalued gaming, because you're placing a floor and a ceiling on what you believe the value is for a game, and that has to then go into the developer's pocket, the publisher's pocket, to be able to create continued value. But here's an element to it. Nobody ever talks about it because it's always the case of, oh, well, this game didn't sell at $70 and it, it failed. Like, okay, for all its faults, I don't fault Concord or their developers for what they did. They tried their best. They made a game. It didn't hit. That fucking sucks for everybody involved. But a reality for that is that it did not sell at $40, $50. Actually, let's quickly check. How much was Concord when it went on sale? Okay. Because I cannot remember what the price was for the game when it released. Sales. Unfortunately, yeah, I can't see the cannot see the actual price of the game when it sold. Yeah, and people are now asking, like, how much does a Concorde flight across the Atlantic cost? And it's like, oh, it's not exactly what I wanted. So, okay. Looking at it here, somebody's saying about $40 US. $40 US. That sounds right, but at the same time, I thought it might have been 50. Okay, regardless, here's an aspect for the way beyond, the way back then. Consider a game like trying to think of a good example. Wet by ZeniMax Media, Bethesda Softworks, not Bethesda Game Studio, but Bethesda Softworks, the publishing arm. Now, that game had, I believe it was Eliza Dushku was the voice of the protagonist. Massive marketing campaign. It's one of Pete Hines's jobs, and they went hard on it. They went really fucking hard on it, but it did not work. Now, could have been because it just wasn't the it wasn't the it just wasn't the game. It didn't review well, didn't do great. That sucks. It comes out, it doesn't sell amazingly well, and the game kind of is consigned to history as a failure. Now, back in those days, you would be printing or pressing X amount of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of copies. So we've all seen this, and actually an even better example would be Skull and Crossbones by Ubisoft last year.
The air's so thick and wet.
Now,
I feel like I'm underwater.
the game did not sell well. The kind of whoop. Oh, Jesus. There's actually a infestation here where this lady's up. Oh, no. And we've got a feral. We need to get away from that. Up. Oh, no. Oh, shit. Ferals are very, very bad for your health in general. Oh, my God. And there's more screamers. Oh, Jesus. Oh, this is not going to go good. This is not going well. Oh, no. No, she's dead. Oh, wow. This is, yeah, this is not going to go well. This is really not going to go well. Okay, I don't think I'm getting up on this. Nope, they've got me. I am dead. So there is another survivor dead. And there's an achievement. Had 3 survivors die. Oh. Okay. So I'm doing fantastically, as you can see. All right. So, seeing as I've lost someone, let's just take a moment here. So we'll go to this camera. No dogs with me. Why is it always that the dogs just jump in whenever they want, but when I want them here to be able to show them off, they're never here? So Wet comes out, doesn't do well. It releases, and everybody would remember for Skull and Crossbones and any other titles like that, they've printed off a massive amount of physical copies. The game doesn't receive well. And then you see the game drop in price relatively quickly after that first sale period. So you consider it as actually, even I think it was the case with Assassin's Creed Shadows. It came out, initial sales were really good. Reviews were, I think, very good to mixed for some people because it wasn't Ghost of Tsushima enough. But it's Assassin's Creed, so it's not trying to be Ghost of Tsushima, but, you know, it can't please everybody. So then the game goes on sale. Now, a lot of the time, everybody goes and looks at a game going on sale or having a discount applied to its price after release, that shortened window as being something that is ultimately a sign of failure. But what it is the company hedging their bets on scale. So if you were to consider it in this way, it comes out in the first 2 weeks, it sells a couple of million copies, but you don't have the large reach that you did before. So it's $70 US, which I think is like £69, 70 euro, 75 euro, maybe back and forward. $100 Australian, $110 New Zealand. I cannot convert that in yen. I'm not great with maths, but you've sold your pre-orders have gone through, and your first 2 weeks, your sales haven't kind of jumped. It's instead kind of sat at a kind of more baseline level that it's still, they're there, but there's not that jump. So you're like, okay, reviews haven't pushed in the way that we thought. It sucks. And you go, well, damn, what can we do? You drop the game by 15%. So again, I'm not fantastic with maths, so I'm always going to use a calculator. So let's go your 70 USD. You drop it by 15%. You're dropping it by $10. $10.50. So you're dropping it down to $69.50. Oh, sorry, $59.50. That can be a little a little advantage that somebody will look at the game and go, $70, no, it's like I'm playing this other stuff. I don't want to I don't want to play that, or I don't want to pay that. But if you offer it instead at $60 or $55, someone's going to look at that, and there's always there's opportunity cost, which is the opportunity to get more sales at a lower price, because it's not about how much money you get. It's about actually getting money at all. And that can be a hard prospect to continue to have in a market where there is so much extra potential for everybody to be peeled off into TikTok, YouTube, Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite, anything else. All of these things that don't cost any outright money, but can have money spent on it. But then outlay money is it's more that delicate balance. You have to meet the player at, or you have to meet the customer at a level where they feel good about the money that they're spending, that they're getting a product equally in return. Now, here's an aspect of that. I believe it was back in 2016 or 2017. Jeff Gerstmann famously always used to have Phil Spencer on the Giant Bomb at night, generally to be night 2. And it was just usually them sitting down for like an hour and a half, shooting the shit. And Jeff would be very kind of like blunt, but Phil would always kind of help and talk through these points where he was able to express a lot more and help people understand some of the broader concepts in gaming and where he saw things going, and how there has to be an understanding about economics and getting games into people's hands. That's the only way you ever make money. That's the only way you will ever succeed, is to actually get the game into someone's hands. And famously, it was there was kind of the discussion of maybe these price points are an issue where people are having issues with paying money for broken games, but we've normalized it by having early access into games. And I think it was around that point, I could be paraphrasing, could have the wrong section, but Phil specifically said, I don't believe that there are bad games. I believe there are bad price points. And that, I think, is really where the reality of how markets work today. You can actually have games that aren't very successful or aren't very well thought of, but they're able to succeed later on. Like you, how many people thought that some titles out there that didn't do fantastically at first, but then gained a cult following? There's always the little success stories that continue after, when a game goes on discount and people are like, wait, this is actually good. I think I've referred to this in my streams from last year when it was when it initially came up, which was the Saints Row reboot. Saints Row, the reboot, did not do well. It reviewed pretty badly. And so people looked at those reviews and went, oh, well, this isn't it. They didn't buy it. The people who did buy it were kind of like, oh, this isn't really great. Volition stayed with the game. They released their DLCs and everything else that they were obviously contracted to do. They'd sold a season pass. They'd sold a gold edition. What had happened in the kind of first initial months of the game's release is that I believe it was Deep Silver / Embracer, and that conglomerate that actually published the game. About a month or two after launch, with the negative reaction, not a lot of sales. What they did was they dropped the price of the game. So they started, I think the standard game was 70 USD. The gold edition was 90 USD. The ultimate was 100 USD. What they did then is drop the full standard game to 40. They sold the gold at 60 and the ultimate at 70. And they put it into every possible sale that they had. So every sale on Xbox, PS Store, Xbox Store, Steam, good old game, everywhere they could sell it. Selling keys. Now, the idea there was that they, over a period of a couple of months, just continued to drop it. They increased the discount a bit more, increased the discount a bit more, and had people buying it because it went from being $60 for that or $50 for that. It was then being like, wait, $40 for like the gold edition with like all the DLC in one hit? It's okay. They may not take it on then, but then a couple of months later, another sale. That gold edition is now $30. And if you increase and pull those discounts together, ultimately kind of swinging down towards that point, you'll hit a point of somebody going, oh, yeah, you know what, $30. Even if it's really bad, it's $30. I can live with that. But then the other side to it is that there's the person who's looking at the full, just the standard game, no DLC, no nothing, just the standard edition, and they're seeing it for 15, and they're like, I'm not willing to pay 30, but you know what, 15, I'll buy that. Like I'll pay that. I can, $15 is like a heavily discounted Steam game. I'll be willing to try that. They buy it, and a lot of people really enjoyed it. Now, the downside being is that this occurred so late that Violition had already ultimately kind of fallen apart, and I believe the studio was closed down. And I'm just going to double check on my statement. Yeah, originally Parallax was founded, defunct August 31st, 2023, which sucks. Yeah, the Free Space series, Summoner series, Red Faction, and the Saints Row series. And yeah, was Gearbox Entertainment was actually their parent company from 22 to 23, which was a strange aspect, I think, as part of like the kind of like bankruptcy element, obviously when THQ closed down, and then so on and so forth. Okay. So yeah, in June 2023, Embracer Group announced a restructuring, including layoffs and studio closures, to reduce accrued debt. Violation was closed on August 31st, 23. 183 people laid off. Deep Silver retained Saints Row and Red Faction, announcing that both IPs would live on. Matthew Karch, the CEO of Embracer Group's Saber Interactive unit, retrospectively criticized Violation as too costly and lacking direction. Shortly after the closing, Matthew Madigan, who had departed Violation in 2017, collaborated with the studio's former creative director, Brian Trafficante, and former producer Rob Loftus to form Shapeshifter Games. Announced in January 2024, the studio began co-developing In Exile Entertainment's Clockwork Revolution, and it had hired over 10 former Violation employees by February of that year. This is one of the aspects of where potential success and industry downsizing, I think, has to go to create a healthy system. But again, who am I? I'm a small business engineer dude in Australia. What do I know? Obviously much smarter, much more capable and brilliant people out there who obviously would understand these things in a very different manner. But as a roundabout way of saying it, it is it is a reality that, yeah, I think the industry will downsize because there's unfortunately just a sheer reality that it has to. Um, when you entertainment has so many different forms now, just inside of video games, you've got console games, you've got mobile games, you've got PC games, you've got xCloud streaming games, you've got GeForce, you've got, and then just in video games, you can break all of those things down by genre or by platform or by anything else. Then those games are directly butting up against card games, board games, um, games like Dungeons and Dragons, tabletops. Uh, you know, even then, choose your own adventure books, and then you've got reading, writing, hobbies, entertainment of other elements. You've got video, you've got audio, you've got podcasts, you've got short form media, everything else. All of these things are butting up against one another, but there's an element that happens with democratization of any platform or creative capacity is that I think we've all seen this, and I think it's a key reality that this isn't like an over the top over the top like big take, but let's be honest. What happened when podcasting became more than something that somebody would do in a radio studio and just chopping up a live to air radio broadcast into small pieces and putting it on the internet? What happened? You then had floods of every person out there having a podcast. I've done it. Like, you have an idea and you're able to, with the democratization of any platform or creative ability, is that you have people who are just throwing their hat in the ring and being like, even if it makes one person happy, I'm going to do it. And let's have a look at this. This is exactly that. I I do this to an audience of one, which is me, and my good friend Turtles here, who is being, a human rocking crib for his child. But even if Turtles isn't here, I'm doing it for myself, not in the sense of you need to. The ultimate element of expression is to have something from you be expressed. The expression of that is the creative element, whether it is a take on how things are, how things could be, or discussing the little bits and pieces about how the world works, operates, anything else. But if your existence comes from the expression of creative and having money or something that can be monetized returns back to you for your creative expression, and you are building that to be the foundation of your career, your future, then you have to sell a product, not the expression. And that can be seen as a very harsh thing to say. I'm sorry. We talked about it earlier in this week, or I believe at the end of last week. You have to be pushing towards a product. You're ultimately having to sell something to people. And that can be a tough way to look at any creative endeavor. But if you look at it with a good, fair balance, value what you're doing, like, but work within scopes. Like, I'm trying to think. Okay. God, I cannot remember his name. It's Marty Stratton, and He is the creative director of the Doom series. id Software, I think it is. Hugo Martin, that is his name. Okay, so if you go back and watch the making of Doom 2016 from NoClip, like really great channel. In the extended kind of chat with Hugo Martin that talks about the kind of creative direction of Doom 2016, how they found that flavor. One of the elements that Hugo talked about, I believe it was in the kind of extended chat, but I think it was in the main documentary as well, which is everybody's always trying to work outside the box, but you've got to learn to love the box. Like if you set the box's boundaries and go, this is what we have to play with. These are the elements, whether it's a limitation of money, time, effort, creative guardrails, law, any of these things. Those things can help then create they can kind of set a boundary that allows you to work inside a system that will work towards a product and success. Whether it's time, whether going, okay, we only have money for the studio to take from development where we are now at, say, alpha, to go to release, and 12 months passed. And you go, okay, so that is 2 years. We have money for 2 years for this amount of people and for this amount of like running costs, everything else. Like our building costs this much per month. Our equipment costs this much per month. Our service costs this much per month. This is how much the production process in itself costs. Like this is submitting to certification. This is, all of your costs, all of your stuff, everything, and you're locked. And you go, we have 2 years, 1 year to finish the game and 1 year to kind of patch and push and see where we end up. That's your box. If you're working inside that and go, whatever that box or limitation is, work within it. Yes, it feels like you're stifling. You can't be as creative as possible, but then you're actually working towards finishing something that goes out into market as a product. Now, you can stack the deck in your favor by going, I want the most entertaining product possible. I want the most amazing product. I want the funnest game possible. I want the game that's going to make people kind of like have a Doki Doki Literature Club reaction. Like there's going to be this creepy song that whenever people play it, like others are going to look at you sideways and be like, oh, that's wrong. Like you like this game, but that's when blah, 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 blah happened. Like you create moments, but if you fit that inside the box and work from there and aim towards releasing something, I think there's a survival in the industry when people start focusing on, instead of creative democracy, everyone can create everything. You kind of build in towards ideas and go, well, what is it that we're needing to create? Is it a game? Is it a piece of entertainment? Or is it, are we making something like the idea of this could have been an email, like this could have been a TV series. Does it really need to be a game? Or could it have been a TV series? Is there so little gameplay in it that you could have just made this a fucking TV show? There are some games that fall inside that category. That's, a few people I know actually honestly would go, like that's what they think of when it comes to The Last of Us. Like it wasn't much of a game. It was just linear. Like making the TV show made more sense, and they enjoyed it more as a TV show rather than the game. But you know, like maybe it's just not your jam. So there is the box. You have to love the box, and the box is your friend. But I think the industry downsizing and becoming something better, more capable, will be when
Every time we lose someone, the world gets a little smaller.
yeah, I know. If people can kind of accept it, it's a harsher statement to make that, oh, these things could be better, could be worse, could be this, could be that. I don't like how the industry is becoming like this, but I think it's better to be honest and just go, well, these things aren't great. They're not the best thing possible. Let's just kind of accept that. Okay, that's oof, Jesus, we don't even have enough to call in that stuff. Vehicle delivery.
Can somebody
Let's go
drop
with
off
that.
a ride?
Oh, they popped it over here. If the reality for games is that people start focusing more on making the product, getting it out there, and having people go, oh wow, here's a smaller project from an indie studio that gets that little bit of attention, and then they can work towards bigger and better things. Work up to it in those little steps. I think there's a way for the industry to potentially continue to grow in a even-handed way, but there is obviously always going to be people arguing about what the potentials are. Like, oh, but it should be this, it should be that, it should be, it's bigger studios' fault, it's smaller studios' fault, it's, too much money, too much greed, too much this. Everyone is going to have 100 different potential elements about what the future of the industry is. I've always just remained of the opinion that there is always going to be 100 different ways for everybody to look at it, and I think we will find out very, very quickly how the biggest studios honestly take care of everything is going to be that's going to be the part that everybody goes, oh, I don't like this. I don't like how these things are happening. Oh, what the hell?
There goes my last shot.
And this screamer will not die. Thank you. Cool. Oh, we've actually got a survivor here still. Oh. They're not doing too well. And I'm not doing too well. Let's get him off me.
I gotta rest.
The smaller studios are probably going to disappear, and a whole lot of them will.
Nothing to find here.
And there is going to be a whole run of people going, this is big studios issues,
Time to go home. Okay.
or big publishers problems,
Don't
or
stress
big
it.
publishers are not, they're not paying the right amount of money. They're not funding for studios. They're not creating, or they're not putting money into the right people. They're just trying to make big fat profits. And yeah, that's kind of the reality of everything in this world.
that we can't enjoy
You
these quiet nights
can't.
anymore.
You have to make some money at some point. Like, just the sad sack reality of nearly everything out there is that it takes money to just kind of build and keep going. If you're not focused towards a product and selling it to someone, then there's not really much that can happen from there. Like, if interest rates were still at 0%, then yeah, you'd probably have more venture capital people out there, because they'd be making more money in the potential returns of a video game studio or a development investment than they would in putting the money in the bank. And if it's 0% interest on mortgage rates and everything else, then yeah, you're going to be making a shitload more than potentially anything else out there. And okay, so 1,
Take care of
2,
this, buddy.
3,
Promise.
4.
No room.
Okay, we can't equip that. Okay,
So what do
let's.
folks think about sharing some stuff with the neighbors?
Oh yeah, do we have anything in the back? Oh yes, we do. Awesome. We can also fix up this truck. Oh, we've already got. Shit, I hadn't realized that we actually had all this sort of stuff in the back of this vehicle when we called it in. That is awfully nice. Yeah, it'd probably be best to use the bandage, not try and use a Molotov on the vehicle. Yeah, games, studios, everything else. I think simplicity is going to be one of the elements that helps hopefully make the industry continue on again without too much interruption in the future. Oh my god, I can actually repair this fucking thing. I'd probably rather not. Okay, so we fixed that. Anything else out here? The smaller games. From OMG Turtles. That's funny because I was thinking yesterday how I can see more lucrative investments being in smaller studios to get more Nintendo-like games than PlayStation. Still only got use of one thumb. I think that, I cannot disagree with that. It would be. I do wonder though if smaller studios are going to have that. I wonder if they're going to have.
God, I am so sick of plague zombies.
The smaller studios investment, in a sense, like the hiring or contracting of these smaller studios to work on, say, established IPs and everything else, it can have its place and it can be very lucrative, but your development cost ultimately ends up being that you're negotiating with these studios and going, well, we're willing to give you this, we're willing to give you this IP, or this is your own IP, we're willing to put this much into it, and this is what we're going to expect in return. It's ultimately similar to the old style publishing agreements of, we're going to invest X amount of tens of dollars into you. Kill the hostile.
Sure.
Hold on.
I'll be damned. You made it back. There's gin in the back if you need a little hair of the dog.
Hold on. I'm gonna keep this.
Jin, that's twice today somebody saved my life.
Okay, hold on. Oh, you're a bartender. That makes absolute sense. Once it's done, still set up.
Thank
Yeah.
you, like, really.
All right.
Hey, what's up? Come on, make yourself at home.
Okay, let's. So these
Hey, yo.
are all three of these people
what have we got
bartenders.
today?
Yeah, sure.
But okay, this guy has chemistry. That's reasonably
Hey,
good.
what's poppin'?
There, business partner.
Cool. Sounds good.
And all he's got is booze. Oh my fucking god. The investments into smaller studios has been pretty good for Nintendo. Sony's had some success with it. In a sense, I'm actually playing like one of the good the good kind of initial investments in a sense that Microsoft did with Undead Labs, like State of Decay 1, State of Decay 2, even though they had purchased the studio by the time State of Decay 2 came out, or just after it came out. But Jeff Strain and the initial kind of discussions and elements, this game was originally for ID at Xbox. And it wasn't, in a sense, signed to exclusivity. It was just they went, well, we're happy with the arrangements that we have, and this is, this is how we want to go forward. Now, obviously, it's meant that, yeah, like, as soon as those investments they will build, but there's ultimately, if you start investing in a studio and they're finding success in working with you wholly and solely, there comes that point where it's, the statement shit or get off the pot. The studio may go, okay, we know that this is working for you. It's working for us in a sense of we're making money, but we don't want to always be on the hook for so much of our costs or elements. You're buying up all of our time, all of our money, all of our effort in what you want us to do.
Another perfect supply run by
If,
me.
if you want this to keep going, you kind of have to show a commitment, like put a ring on it. And that is a risk, because you will get some studios or some publishers in the past who've gone, no, we don't want to like do anything like that. We're happy with how things are. It's like, yeah, of course you're happy with how things are. You're just paying us money. We're delivering these things and you're paying us our share, but we would be getting a much better share if you actually kind of stepped up and actually went, well, we're committing to you.
Let's make this mag count, kiddos.
Because anything that happens in the studio, they can have the best of intentions, the best of execution, and then as things continue on, oh, what? I thought I turned off the curveballs. Or do I not get a choice in this? Oh my god, but okay. Oh, hold on, because this is damn it, I don't close without saving. I don't get a choice in this matter. Oh no, I have to actually go kill this dude. Jesus Christ. All right. All right. We'll call there for a bit. Yeah, the small studios, I think there's actually quite a few thinking about it. I think Halo Studios had mentioned that they have a contract studio that's doing co-dev work with them. Obviously, Sidewinder Games, I think it was that broke off from Violition, are working with the developers at In Exile on Clockwork Revolution. These smaller studios, including I think from memory, no, not the official site. Let's have a look on Wikipedia. This should definitely tell us. Undead Labs. Okay, so it does not have anything on the development. There's downloadable content, the original development and release. Damn it does not have it there. Okay, so I think from memory it was that during the development of State of Decay 2, I believe it was the studio that did Destruction All Stars, I think was the game. Yeah, Destruction All Stars. Lucid Entertainment. Okay. So Lucid Games was a Liverpool-based studio, former employees of Bizarre Creations, one of my favorite developers out there. So they've basically worked by themselves. Lucid Entertainment Group was basically set up, I think, 2020, and then they become part of Lightspeed Studios in 2023, which is kind of a larger development system underneath Tencent. But going through their kind of listings here, they did a lot of port development work. Just off here, 2015 Goat Simulator, working with the publisher at Double 11. They did port co-development for PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, 360, Xbox One. Liberty City Stories, Android, Fire OS, and iOS for Rockstar Development. Destruction All Stars, they worked with Sony Interactive Entertainment specifically on that game. In 2023, they were doing work on Sea of Thieves for Xbox Game Studios as a support studio. I thought it was Lucid Games who did Destruction All Stars, but I think they were also working with I thought they were working with Undead Labs on the actual development of continued game content and releases, specifically updates and everything else like that. I could be wrong. It could be Mandela effect that I'm attributing it to the wrong developers. Codev. Let's see. Is co-op? No, not. Hold on. I think it was the State of Decay. I think it was the Curveball update. Yeah, update 34. Okay. Let's have a look at this. Yeah, Curveballs. Wow, yeah, I cannot find it. It could honestly just be that I've I've completely got this wrong, but I believed it was a co-dev group who was actually working with State of Decay or the Undead Labs, and they've basically helped doing that development while I think at that point that co-dev element was while the initial work was being done on State of Decay 3. that has obviously in that year or so since been part of what's been worked on in the background, and then they got shown in June this year at the showcase. That sort of co-dev work was how a lot of studios got their start and were establishing themselves with their capacity and ability as smaller studios. But okay, it's a hard thing to say because so many people end up seeing the successes and going, that could be me. And far be it from me to say to anybody that having aspirations or goals to, I'm going to make a game that's going to, grab the attention, grab the zeitgeist, and I'll be the next Roblox, I'll be the next Undertale, I'll be the next Stardew Valley. Like, if you've got that and you've got the drive for it, fucking go for it. But a lot of studios out there built up their capacity, ability, and their business acumen in being able to deal with publishers, production, development, human resource, how to work with people, how to do these things over time and everything. A lot of that comes from being willing to sit down and actually understand what it costs and how to value your own time. The smaller studios and the kind of Nintendo-like games where it's built around great art direction, solid design, and creating that. Like, if you consider one of the things about a Mario game is that within 10 minutes, you will know every movement and action that you can undertake as Mario, because it is all built around just simple combinations of controls or buttons. They will explain every element. Any new element that is introduced to you past there will always have that same period of 1 minute where you can screw around with it. But then you start applying the same logic as previous tutorial elements to go, oh, now that I've got this new skin, like this Tanuki suit, I wonder if I did this long jump combination that makes me just long jump, I wonder how it's different. And then you have an even longer long jump because you're in the Tanuki suit. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. I found something new. And then it will throw at you a different equation and go, here's a really long jump. If you hadn't discovered that yet, then you're kind of like, oh, okay, well, I'll just try the standard long jump. Oh my God, I've jumped 3 times the distance. This is cool. One thing that Nintendo does really well is that if you develop and design inside that element, and then the challenges are to identify and work through these things at an increased pace or with a sense of urgency or scale or a time limit, or it's, those come with discipline and time and skill and learning and understanding what it is. But to be able to do that first, you have to know how to run the business. And because everybody's still working off a indie mindset where I did this as myself in my bedroom and everything else, and you start going, okay, cool, work from home for everybody will, we'll start, we'll work all around the world. We'll all work from home. Yeah, that may work, but then you have to be able to manage people. You have to be able to trust people. It then involves a lot more skill in being able to manage the people to get the results that you want, which then becomes a harder thing when you then start taking on bigger or badder projects, especially when there's more money tied in it. Like, there are kind of flow-on effects, I think, to the smaller studio element. Someday, I think the industry shrinking or downsizing will will probably pull some people out of the industry, and that will be sad because I think everybody's got a game in them. I think everybody has some fucking amazing games in their ideas, and those are honestly the things that kind of could potentially change the industry for the better. But not everybody gets to make the very thing that they're looking to do. It's sometimes not that, and being willing to wait that time or build up your own skill enough until you're capable of handling it can be for some it's not it's not something they're capable of doing, because they're like, no, I need to get this out, I have to do this. It's like, if you had waited 5 more years, done another project or 2, then you would have learnt enough to be able to navigate these things, instead of like spending that 5 years when you could have spent 3 years doing it, but you spent 2 years kind of like blindly like knocking into the walls of the maze as you're going through it. But to any degree, you have to. I don't think the industry at large is ever going to tell anybody, no, you can't make games anymore. It's going to be a war of attrition, that there will be people who probably go bankrupt trying to push their own games, to rush their own development, because they believe, like, for anybody, it's always, oh well, there's so many indie games coming out at any one time, how do you find space to breathe in it? There are plenty of games out there that are honestly fantastic that no one has ever played, because they came out and there's only a handful of people who gave it a shot. You will always have those undiscovered gems. Among Us was out for what, 2 years before people really found it during COVID. Sometimes it's a point of circumstance that people will dive back into something. Streamers and influencers can affect those things. There is 100,000 different ways for it to all turn out. But I hope smaller studios stay around, because there's always the fun little ideas. But I think the indie gaming world has to start being a little more realistic about how they're going to be funding. Because if you can't present to a publisher that you have an honest plan to be able to deliver something in a time and in a budget, I think people are going to stop risking that money, because people aren't delivering. More and more Patreon projects or self-funded things or early access games just fall over without delivering anything. And unless you've got a history of delivering on time and on budget, publishers are getting a little bit annoyed that, for a Sandfall Interactive, they invested a good chunk of money. They got a Game Pass deal. Expedition 33 worked out fantastically for them. Now for Sandfall, everybody's going, oh wow, you've got a shitload of money now at your disposal, so you'll be able to fund things. So people are taking stuff like, you work with us, like, we're the people to sign next. We're the next Expedition 33. But that isn't how they got to the place that they are. It was seeing and understanding and going, here's a team of veterans who've all worked in studios for 10 plus years each. So there's a lot of experience here and a lot of skill, and they've got a clearly defined element of what they want to make and how they're making it. They've already proven what they've done so far. They're willing to work with us towards making sure that we lock down as much money as possible to cover the funding. And then for what they spent, it got returns because they delivered on time, on budget, and understood that they're making a product. Would the game have sold or caught as much attention if Charlie Cox was not the lead voice actor for Gustav? Probably. I think people would have picked it up. But fuck me sideways, did it get a lot of attention in that 2024 trailer that they released? First showing off the game at the Xbox Games Showcase that year. It caught so much attention. And then in 2025, when it's leading up to release, that caught so much more that the mainstream media were covering it, saying, oh my God, Charlie Cox and Andy Serkis are in this game, completely bypassing the fact that Ben Starr and Jennifer English were in it, you know, two of the biggest voice actors at the moment. It was about them. They understood what they're doing and targeted towards selling a fucking product. Indies know how to do it, but it's being responsible and being accountable to yourself. Know how much you're spending, know what you're doing, and remember that you're selling something to someone. Marketing's important. You can't just go, trust me, I'm a gamer like you. You have to actually make something, put it in their hands. So I've managed to rabbit on for almost the 2 hours. So I'm pretty damn happy with that, even with the technical difficulties at the start. So while we're here, I'm going to edit this thing here. And because there's no coda here, I'm going to change this and take this element and go, okay, this element here, we are changing it to is 3 survivors in the death counter. So we're going to put that there, and I will continue to update this as I am playing the State of Decay Dreadron. So we are now at 3 survivors dead, and we will continue to change this as things go on. Poor survivors. They never had a chance. I honestly shouldn't have taken them out in the middle of the night to go get a drunk person from a house in the middle of the sticks right next to a play cart. But, you know better next time. All right, so we're going to call it there for the night. Thank you very much, Turtles. I hope that your child has been chill and relaxed, and that your single thumb has not gotten too overworked. But I hope that you have a relaxing and nice weekend ahead. Also, let us know once that heat wave's gone. Send us proof that the bees are still with us. We want to know that bees are okay. And for anybody else who's dropped in, thank you. I think people may have dropped in. They may have just dipped in and dipped out. If you didn't, or you're catching this on VOD later, I don't know why you're watching this later, but thank you. Because, do what you can. If anything that I've said has interested you or you disagree, honestly, drop messages. Send messages through, because even if we disagree, I'd love to know where we disagree. I'd like to be interested, or I'd like to hear what you think. So we'll look forward to that. Dependent on things, I think Xbox 2 is live tomorrow in like less than, I think, 10 hours or so time. I'm not sure. Jez did post saying that he took his microphone with him on holiday. So we'll hear from him after his announcing of his engagement that he did on Twitter. So yes, that was the thing that he posted, that I was like, congratulations to this person. He said that his partner said yes. So very happy for him. Again, like it just all of the messages and bits and pieces, you can see that there's a 1,000-watt smile in anything he's typing, that's just heartwarming. So depending on how things are after the Xbox 2 podcast tomorrow, I might stream a little. Depends on what happens. I think Jason Try said that the Xbox layoffs aren't expected until early June, in the month of July. which would be, say, next weekend, uh, which is a possibility. But at the same time, like, who knows? If there are any announcements or bits and pieces, then I may probably go live because I would actually be able to. Tomorrow is it's Saturday here, so I could do a stream during the day. Potentially get some of the Americans in here. I know Bubby Kai. I'd love to chat with him again. So thank you very much to everybody who was here, here, now, later, or at any other time. Have a great weekend.